Okay, so you should have been working on changing these A, B, C, D, and E into a decimal. So you should have gotten, what did you get for A? What is that as a decimal? Yes, sir.
0.40.
0.40. What about negative 3 and 1/4? Yes, sir.
3.25.
Nope. Try again.
No,
Yes.
negative.
There you go. Negative 3.25. What about 2 and 1/10? Yes, sir.
2.1.
2.1. What about 2 and 3/5? Yes, sir.
2.6.
2.6. What about negative 2 and 3/4? Yes, sir.
2.7.
Nope.
Negative 2.7.
There you go. Negative 2.75. It's important to say whether it's negative or positive. Okay, so we can use our number line or we can convert them to decimals. Me, myself, I like to convert my fractions to decimals. Not always, but most of the time I do. Now that I have them in a decimal form, it's going to make it easy for me to put them on my number line. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on my number line. 0.4. What two numbers will that fall between? Yes, ma'am.
4.
It's going to fall between 4?
Oh, no.
Where would this fall about on the number line? Yes, sir.
Between 0 and 0.5.
All right, so between 0,
Closer to 0.5.
very good. I like the way he said that. He said 0.5 or 0.5. But it's going to be closer to a half. I like that. All right, so that's going to be A. What about negative 3 and 1/4? Where would that fall on my number line? Yes, sir. Between what two numbers?
3 and 4.
So it's going to fall between 3 and 4?
On negative.
So you told me that it was going to fall between 3 and 4.
And then negative 3 and 4.
Oh, between the negative 3 and 4.
Halfway mark.
At the halfway mark?
No, like
Before it?
And in between the 3 and halfway mark.
Okay, so about here, would you agree?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. What about 2 and 1/10? What two numbers? Yes, sir? Yeah, you.
Between 2 and 3.
Between 2 and 3.
But it'll be way closer to 2.
But it's going to be closer to 2. Okay. Perfect. Oh, sorry, that's C. All right, what about 2 and 3/5? Yes, they're back there? Yes.
In between the halfway point on 2 and 3.
Between 2 and 3.
And closer to 3.
Closer to 3, but past the 2.5? Okay. All right, what about negative 2.75 or negative 2 and 3/4? What two numbers is it going to fall between? Yes, sir?
In between the negative 3 and the halfway between negative 2 and negative 3.
So here's the halfway.
Yeah, and a little closer to 3.
And a little closer to negative 3?
Negative 3.
All right. So what is that, E? So I have placed all of my fraction on a number line. Now that it's on a number line, now it makes it easy to put them in order, whether it's greatest to least or least to greatest, because we know that our number lines work from the left to the right, and we get least to greatest, correct? Okay, so that's one way. So one way we can compare fractions is using a number line. One way that we can do it is we converted them to decimals, right? And we can then order them in decimals. So another way that we can, and I like to use this method whenever I look at the fractions and they're considered what I consider pretty fractions, meaning that they are very easily changed into a common denominator. So fractions can be compared using like denominators. And I know back in the days, back in like 4th grade, 5th grade, you compared fractions and you found their common denominators. That's a vocabulary word that you're used to hearing, correct?
Yes.
Yes? All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find their common denominator. Then we are going to rename the fraction using that common denominator. And we're going to look at some examples here in just a few minutes. Then we'll put them in order, and then we will rewrite the original fraction. All right, so let's look at what this is going to look like as far as our examples. So I have my fractions of 11/12. I'm going to use a different color. 2/3, 5/6, and 1/4, correct? Can I compare them the way they are? I cannot. I cannot. I need to do one of a few things. I need to either change them all to a decimal form and compare them that way, or I need to change them all to a common denominator. So this is how I, Miss Armstrong, decide whether or not I'm going to change them to a decimal or use common denominators. So I'm going to look at my denominators on all of these. I've got 12, 3, 6, and 4. Okay, those all will make an easy common denominator. I can easily come up with a common denominator. What is my common denominator going to be? Yes, sir?
12.
12. Every one of these denominators can go into 12, right? All right, so now I'm going to rewrite or rename the fractions with my common denominators. Okay, so 11/12 will stay the same. What did I do to 3 to get to 12?
By 4.
Multiplied by 4. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top, and it becomes 8/12. These two are still equivalent fractions, right? But now I'm just making a denominator of the same. So I'm going to multiply by 2, multiply by 2, and I get 10/12. Multiply by 3, multiply by 3, and I'm going to get 3/12. Now that they all have the same denominator, now it's easy to compare them. It's like comparing when we back in the days when we compared whole numbers. All right. Let's see, let's put these in order. We're putting these in order from greatest to least. I should have put that up there on the top. So looking at 11, 8, 10, and 3, which one is the greatest?
3.
Yes, sir.
11/12.
11/12. Would everybody agree?
Yeah.
So I'm going to put a little 1 there so I remember that that's my first one. Then what does it go to? Yes, ma'am? 10/12. Then it goes to what? Yes, sir? 8/12. And then, of course, the last one is going to be... Now, do I just compare the numerators no matter what? I have to have what? What does my denominator have to be? They all have to be what? The same denominator. For this one, 12. All right, now I have them in order. Now, the very last one says to rewrite the original fractions. So, when a problem gives me the fractions, I can manipulate these fractions to make it easier for me to put them in order. But when I give you my final answer, my $1 million, I have to make sure they're in their original form. So we said the first one is going to be 11/12. What was the original form? 11/12. And then we said our second one is going to be the original form is 5/6. Then my third one is what? 2/3. And my fourth one is 1/4. So this is my fractions in order of greatest to least. Do you see how easy it made it whenever I stacked it like this? It made it very easy for my eyes and my brain to be able to say, okay, what is 8/12 in its original form? Oh, 2/3. What was it in the original form? All right, let's look at the next example that they give us. So we've got, where's my, there it is. So we've got 3 1/5. We've got 3 1/4, 3 2/20, and 17/5. So those are the problems that they give me, right? So I'm gonna look and I'm gonna decide, am I gonna change these all to decimals, or can I easily find a common denominator? Yes, ma'am.
Common denominator is 20.
Very good. The common denominator is 20. Okay, I can do that pretty easy. All right, so my whole number stays the same, but now my denominators are going to become 20. Now let's look at this 17/5. Okay, so this one's a little bit tricky because yes, I can make that denominator of 20, but notice that I have whole numbers here. Can I change that 17/5 into a mixed number? What would the mixed number be? Yes, ma'am.
It would be 3 over 3 and 2/5.
3 2/5. And okay, I can still do 3 and something over 20, right? Yes? Okay, so now let's go ahead. What did I do here? I multiplied by 4, multiplied by 4, multiplied by 5, multiplied by 5. Oh, I didn't have to do anything there. I multiplied by 4, multiplied by 4. Okay, now I have them all with the same denominators, correct? Would you agree? Yes, no? Okay, so which one is the greatest?
8, 3,
Yes.
3 and 8.
3 8/20. Then, everybody? 3 5/20. Then 3 4/20. And last, of course, is 3 2/20. So in order to be finished and have my $1 million, now I have to write them back in their original form. 17/5, 3 1/4, 3 1/5, and 3 2/20. Now, my last class asked me, Miss Armstrong, but they're not in simplified versions. Do I need to simplify those answers? Okay, I do not need to simplify these. I have to give my answer in whatever form they gave me. So if they gave it to me in an unsimplified manner, then I use that unsimplified manner. Okay? Yes? No? Okay, so that's kind of, I'm going to save 8, 9, 10, and 11 for tomorrow's lesson. So we're going to glue this into our journal, and then I'm going to give you your work for today.